Okay, good afternoon all, and thank you for joining us. We should take the usual format today and begin with the broadcast section. Chris and Sky Sports News. Off you go, Chris.
Afternoon, Liam. Please could we start with the team news, the update on Reece James and Mark Cucurella?
Yeah, Mark's too early to know. Obviously, he's definitely out for the game against Hull. We're just doing our scans and assessments on him, and hopefully he's not too long. Reece trained modified. He's still under the weather, and we'll make a decision on Reece tomorrow. But it's a good news that he's back on the training pitch. In terms of injury, he's absolutely fine, but he's had a really bad bug, and hopefully he's recovered from that.
In terms of a few more thoughts on the game last night, have you had a good time to look back at Cole's late effort now and kind of decipher?
It wasn't just that. Balanced view is 99% of the game was in what I want to see, and in terms of with the ball, in terms of without the ball, in terms of our defending set plays, in terms of our threat on set plays, in terms of our energy, our courage, our habits. Was very, very good. Just those moments of switching off, and they're the bits where we need to improve. But saying that, there's a lot of good in what we did last night, and there's ways you can focus on that and make sure that's even better.
A trip down memory lane for you on Friday,
yeah, man.
Going back to Hull, how do you feel about that, and also being back in the FA Cup?
Firstly, people for me, Hull City. Is very special to me. My grandma was a season ticket holder. She passed away a year to the day pretty much when I took that job. I think she did the draw. I've got my family coming up. I probably need about 20 tickets. The club means a lot to me for many reasons, and yeah, hopefully we can put on a really, really good show, but it'll be amazing to go back.
And just finally from me, we've seen a Premier League manager depart today in Thomas Frank. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, firstly, it's never nice when you see a fellow manager lose their job. Thomas, I've met a few times. He's a fantastic guy and a fantastic coach. It just goes to show how difficult this job can be. I wish him all the very best in the future.
Thanks, Chris. John?
That experience at Hull, how do you think it moulded you into the player but also the manager that you've become?
Yeah, without Hull, without the experience of being there as a player and as a manager, I wouldn't be sat here. I've got a lot to thank the club for. Had some amazing times there, both as a player and as a coach. And it's really good to see them doing so well in the league. It's a great club, great people, great fans, it's a great city. And it's going to be an emotional one for me to go back.
And is this an opportunity to make wholesale changes and give a few players a rest? Because obviously gone next week.
No, it's a tough game. This is going to be a difficult game, and I want to do well in this competition, so I don't see it any different to a Premier League game or a Champions League game. We're going there with a team that I think will be good enough to win the game, and I want to take this game really, really seriously. We're going to have to, because they're in good form and they're used to winning games at the moment.
Can I ask you about your centre backs? I don't think you played the same centre back pairing in any game since you've kind of obviously you're rotating from the situation with Wesley Fofana.
Yeah.
How difficult is that not to have that consistency in that position? And can it explain maybe what happened for that second goal yesterday?
I think you can overanalyze. We should have, didn't matter who was on the pitch in that moment, we should have dealt with that situation. You're talking about isolated incidents that have cost us 2 points. I felt, like I said, the 99% of that performance was very, very good. In terms of Wes, he's had injury issues, and I want to make sure he doesn't break down again. He's an outstanding player, but always you want consistency in your back line, and I'm sure we'll get there in the end.
How long, it's a difficult question, but how long do you think it will be before Wes can play back-to-back games?
Well, for the first time in a long time, he played back-to-back from midweek to the weekend. So that's a really positive sign. And the aim for every player is to build them to a point where they can play every game. That's the aim, and we're not quite there yet. But with the medical team that I'm working with and the way we're working, I'm confident we can get them there.
Thanks, John. Liam?
Hi, Liam. I wanted to ask about Mamadou Sarr, obviously a player that you know very well. Is there a chance that he could feature in this game? And what have you seen what you expected to see from him in the training sessions?
Yes. Yeah, Mamadou's got a great chance to start the game. It's very difficult for a player in January to move clubs. Obviously, the great thing for Mamadou is he's been here before, and also he knows me very well and my expectations and demands with the players. He's only been here for a week, so he needs time to bed in. He needs time to acclimatise. But now I think he's in a really good place, and he'll definitely see the pitch at some point on Friday.
Okay, thanks, Liam. As there's no more questions, we'll end that section there. Cameras off, please.
Feel like a win, and what's your overview of the performance, because it looks a bit kind of stodgy?
Good word, that.
I don't know what it means.
I think mixed, to be honest. Mixed feelings. I think we know we weren't quite at our best. I think credit West Ham for that, a little bit of closing certain spaces up, but I think we can be better. The boys are a bit frustrated and disappointed probably with that, which is a really good sign for me. And then finishing with a late goal when we've had to find one is a good moment and another positive for us to know that we can do that, and we don't want to have to pull on it and use it too often. But I think in the grand scheme, I think as a point, something where we can take, and we kind of dust ourselves down a little bit, assess it, take these games over a 5-game period, and to just have one draw in there, I think is a big positive. So mixed feelings, really.
You gambled at the end in the last 10 minutes when you brought Xerxes and went 3 at the back, but you missed and they could have got second. That was worth it to get it.
It's always worth it, yeah. It's always worth it to try and get something out of the game. I think I have to say credit to Lenny. I thought his two bits of defending 1v1 and defending the counter attack, which we knew he was going to have to do at times, throwing the bodies forward. I thought them 2 moments where he's blocked and were huge moments, and so he deserves a lot of credit for that, to give us the chance to then go and get the goal that'll kind of get something out of the game. And we had moments. Josh had a chance, obviously Casemiro had the chance, which I'm not seeing it, but must have been close, and then big moment for Ben. So yeah, we had to go for it. We had to try and get something out of the game, and credit to the lads for keep going.
Hi, Michael. How much thought did you give to starting Benjamin tonight? He's obviously made an impact off the bench a few times. And did you consider bringing him on Hendrick anyway? It felt for a while like you were missing that kind of focal point of the striker tonight, not the build-up. Kind of missing that. Yeah,
it's always the balance. I think the boys have done fantastically well, who have played as well. So it's that's the importance of the whole group and the importance of the squad. And I've said it to them after every game, and I only say it because it's that important. And as I said, Lenny's come on and made a big difference for us tonight in big moments, and then Ben scored again. So Ben's doing a lot of work. He's in a good place. He's ready to kick on. It's just managing the kind of the balance, and we could have changed things a little bit earlier. That's obviously the decision. We're always trying to make the right one, and we're actually having a bit of a spell in the game at that point where we thought we might come back into it, and Casemiro's goal, and so there's a balance. But certainly when he came on the pitch, he made a big difference.
Andy?
Hi Michael, it's the first time you've not had like a full week into a game. How much did the difference did that make in terms of preparation and the performance?
No, that is what it is. That didn't make a difference for us. I think we know how hard it is to put a run together in this league. Every team shows that. It's not easy to build it and win every game, So sometimes you got to pull on different things. Sometimes it naturally comes and it flows, and you get everything clicks and you look really dangerous and there's a spark. Sometimes it's a little bit more difficult, as Simon says, maybe a little bit stodgy, but it's sometimes it just doesn't quite work. You got to find the answers and find a way. And listen, we prefer to be doing it with a clean sheet. I think if we were really at it, we'd have a clean sheet and give us a chance of winning the game. That's the frustrating one, really, with a goal that we conceded from a flow that was kind of in at their corner. That's but sometimes you got football throws things up and you got to do it. So as I said, in the grand scheme of things, we managed to take something from it and move on.
Rob and then Carl.
Just on Ben, it's obviously a big move for a young striker to come to the Premier League, and at times before you arrived he was a little bit short of confidence, but he's come up with 2 massive goals for you now, and the finish tonight, it looks like the finish of someone who's really won it for years.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable finish from the angle to kind of generate that, to get it on target, to finish it. It's some goal from him, and He's capable of that, Ben. You know, he's done it over time. It's not that he's just suddenly burst on the scene. He's been doing it. He's proven that he can score goals as well, and he's been doing it in training for us as well. So it's not surprising, to be honest. I think that's what he does. It's what he's good at. But certainly to be actually do it and to feel it. As I said, the last one would have done him the world of good. The winner tonight, a little bit different with the emotion of the game, but certainly important and a big moment for him and us.
Good evening, Mr. Carrick. I just want to talk about Kobbie Mainoo a little bit. He's often described as a midfielder who doesn't always make the highlight reel. As someone who used to be a midfielder is now a coach. Could you explain that sort of player to the layman, to any like young players?
I think he just plays his role in the team, Kobbie. I think he's playing next to Casemiro. I think they've got a really good partnership and kind of complement each other. And basically, as a midfielder, you're trying to connect the team and you're trying to bring everything together, whether that's with the ball, without the ball. And he certainly takes the ball. I think we all realise that he'll take the ball everywhere and he'll connect the whole team. And he's not always going to be the one that maybe has the final action, but he certainly starts a lot of our moves, and he's having a big impact on the team at the moment, which is great to see.
During your playing days, Rio Ferdinand was once asked why you like playing with you, and he simply said, "I like Michael Carrick because he passes the ball for me." When you're up against a team like West Ham who sat deep, how hard is it to get the ball forward?
Yeah, it's challenging because listen, we're all craving for it. You know, I'm on the side of the pitch, and you're wanting them moments where you can open them up and you can be really positive. I think there's that balance as well of a team like that who are so dangerous on transition and on regains and turnovers with the pace they have and the way that they can attack so fast. So there's a real element of getting the balance between risking passes through the middle or risking a pass to then give away to then try. So you've got to be in, as much as you want to go and progress, you still got to be in a position to manage the game and have an element of control. And we probably just went a little bit more in terms of the control tonight at times, but that's something we'll get towards. And the fact that we still scored the goal at the end, you know, I think we can't be too down or too disappointed. I think there's you got to understand the context of the game and where we're at, and we can still take a lot from the game.
With Chris, and then last one for Nathan.
Hi Michael, you haven't got a game for a little while now, so just wondering what's the plan for the next couple of weeks? Stay in Manchester or get away?
Yeah, I stay in Manchester. I think it's a chance to do a bit of both, of refresh a little bit, a few boys carrying knocks and niggles and a few strains that we can kind of clean up as you would expect at this stage of the season, and then obviously do some good work. And I think they do need a little bit of a breather and kind of digest the way we're at really after this period of time, and take a deep breath and then come back, learn from it and kind of clear the head and come back stronger again. So it'll be a little mixed, but it's a strange one, obviously 13 days, but we'll definitely use it and make the most of it.
Late goals are a bit of a tradition at this club. Arsenal, West Ham, and Fulham seen that. Has that been a bit of a message from you to the players, or to always keep going? I
think it's a huge part of it. I think you've got to have that spirit, and then sometimes you've got to find a way, you know. And we all try and want the perfect kind of performance, isn't it? Well, not perfect, but you know, the kind of best we can be. Sometimes it doesn't quite happen, but it doesn't mean you give up. And we obviously went for it. You know, we went with three at the back and the rest all attacking basically towards the end to try and find that goal. And I think that's the way we should do it at that moment. And we managed to pull it off. So I was delighted with the boys.
And Michael, just on the attack, you've got so much versatility, especially when Ben's on the left, Brian, when the left, Bruno. How difficult is that to try and find the right balance? And obviously Ben has a slightly different game.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit on different games as well, and situation in games, and how you want to attack, where the space is or what the game looks like. We probably didn't quite get the balance right, if we're honest, you know, for the first part of the game. Which happens, you know, that happens, and sometimes, you know, teams are allowed to stop you from scoring, so we just got to find that way. But we kept going and mixed things up, and because we have got that flexibility, I think it certainly helps to find different solutions.
Mikel Arteta's work at Arsenal is being viewed in an even brighter light after the recent coaching shakeups elsewhere. With Chelsea parting ways with Enzo Maresca and Manchester United moving on from Ruben Amorim, the contrast is hard to miss. Arsenal has kept moving forward under Arteta. giving him time through difficult stretches, and now seeing the payoff as the club pushes again in the Premier League title race. It also raises a bigger question about strategy. While Chelsea and United are changing direction again, Arteta has been in place for more than 6 years, outlasting a long list of managers across those two clubs in that span. That stability has become part of the story, and it was a major talking point on the Seeing Red podcast with Tom Canton and John Cross. Beyond reacting to Amorim's dismissal and breaking down wins over Aston Villa and Bournemouth, plus Manchester City's loss to Chelsea, the conversation kept returning to one core idea: structure. Not just who is the coach, but how much power that coach has, and whether the club is built to support a long-term project. Cross pointed to Arsenal as a rare example of patience turning into real strength. He argued that Arsenal's willingness to back Arteta through the messy early phases helped create the stable position they're in now, and that this kind of time and support investment is what can turn a club into something truly solid. Canton's response was sharp and honest. Arteta's arc, he said, has almost become a problem for other clubs, because it tempts them to keep coaches they probably shouldn't. But at the same time, it's still the best example of what can happen when you hire the right person and actually give them time. And that time wasn't smooth. The discussion highlighted how Arsenal could easily have pulled the plug early. 2 8th-place finishes, then 5th, missing out on the Champions League, and a Europa League semi-final exit to Unai Emery's Villarreal. Any of those moments could have pushed a club into panic mode. Instead, the argument is that Arsenal recognized the bigger reality. Arteta didn't have the resources to compete at the required level right away. The squad needed a rebuild. The roster needed to be refreshed. That's where the comparison to Chelsea and United becomes even more pointed. The podcast suggested that recruitment and decision-making structure are often what determine whether a coach survives. If signings don't land, results suffer. And if a coach doesn't have enough influence, or the club isn't aligned behind a clear plan, it becomes much easier for things to collapse. In other words, giving time only works if the coach is empowered to shape the team in a way that matches the vision. Cross also emphasized that Arteta's situation stood out because he pushed to be a true manager, not just a head coach. The idea is simple. Top coaches want a real say in the build, and they want the club to match what they were promised when they took the job. The discussion even pointed to how Arteta survived a low moment, like the home loss to Burnley, because the club stayed behind him. And in that period, with fan pressure affected by the COVID-era environment, Arsenal were able to hold their nerve instead of reacting emotionally. Meanwhile, the big unknowns now shift back to Chelsea and Manchester United. Who replaces Amorim? And how will the next chapter look at Chelsea? The answers may come sooner than people expect. But for Arsenal, the reality stays the same. They're stable, they're moving forward, and they're still in the title chase, while others are starting over again. And that contrast can shape how people judge every manager in the league. Because when two massive clubs hit the reset button again, it forces the same question Cross raised on the show. Is the quick switch actually fixing the problem, or just delaying the real work? The bigger takeaway from the discussion is that time isn't a magic solution by itself. It only becomes valuable when the club's structure supports the plan, and when the coach has the influence to push the squad in the direction he believes it needs to go. That's why the distinction between head coach and manager kept coming up. The podcast point is that if a coach is expected to own the results, he usually wants a meaningful say in the decisions that shape those results. And if he doesn't get that, patience alone won't save him. That's also where Arteta's early struggles get reframed. Those finishes and setbacks could have become a reason to panic. Instead, they became evidence of why alignment matters, because Arsenal chose to treat them as part of a build, not a final verdict. And once the squad was reshaped the way the club believed it needed to be, the results started to reflect that long-term approach. So the repercussions aren't just about Arsenal looking stable, it's about how stability changes your margin for error. When you don't reset every year, you're not constantly starting from zero. You're building on decisions, learning from setbacks, and keeping a clearer identity. For Chelsea and Manchester United, the immediate consequence is obvious. They're changing direction again, which means the next appointment carries even more weight. Because every new coach isn't just judged on results. He's judged on whether the club is finally giving him the structure and authority that the role demands. That's why the question at the end matters so much. Who will replace Amorim, and how will Liam Rosenior do at Chelsea? because those answers will test the exact theme the show kept returning to: time, support, structure, and control. And for Arsenal, it's a different kind of pressure. Stability doesn't guarantee trophies, but it does keep you in the fight longer. And right now, while others restart, Arsenal get to stay focused on what they're already doing, chasing the Premier League title.